Hey folks, it's John with KGTropicals.com. Like I said in my last video, it's time to step outside the box and start talking about some fish other than African cichlids. Don't worry, African cichlids are still my primary focus, but we got a whole lot of extra things to talk about. And one of the series that I've been talking about doing for a long time, I've been talking with my friend Dave here about doing it, was a series all about breeding the freshwater angelfish. It's a series that I probably could have done by myself, but why do that when this guy knows a heck of a lot more about breeding angels than I do? So I figured we'll come to his house, we'll take a look at what he's got, and we'll pick his brain about breeding angelfish. If you've been to my store, if you've been on the website and seen angels, they're his. We buy all of our angels from him. They're absolutely a great product, and so this is perfect. It's a perfect place to do a series like this. So, going to introduce you to Dave. We're going to talk about his setup, and then we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of this. So first of all, Dave, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Talk to the people about your history in fish keeping, how long you've been keeping fish, how all this good stuff, and what got you into it and all that.
Well, like most people, I probably started when I was in high school. Freshwater, started with a 20-gallon tank, and then went up to saltwater. Had an unfortunate event with the saltwater tank, and you know,
we're going to talk about that in a future video.
And so I kind of dabbled in and out of it since then, but got back into it, as my wife would say, very seriously. And now I have, you know, several tanks throughout the house of different types of fish.
How many tanks is that?
Right now it's down to 16.
Just 16. But he is serious, folks. He's got a lot of tanks he's getting ready to set up that are out in the garage right now, so this guy knows what he's doing, trust me. Now, as far as breeding angels goes, talk to me about that. What got you into that, and how long you've been doing that?
Breeding angels was kind of a direction I wasn't planning on going. I went to do discus, and I went to a sale that was supposed to be a discus sale. They didn't have discus, but they had angels, so I purchased a breeding pair, and you know, the rest is history, as they say, because they were very successful breeding pair. And then as they grew, I got more tanks, and as I got more tanks, I needed more fish, and so now I have 10 breeding pairs.
Wow. So. And that breeding pair, the original breeding pair that he bought, we're going to take a look at when we do our little tour, and they're absolutely gorgeous. They're huge. So we're definitely going to look forward to taking a look at that. Now, Dave has tanks all over his house. He's got them everywhere. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick tour, show you what he has set up, and then we're going to really pick this man's brain and talk about all the different stuff. You know me, you know the way I'd like to go into detail, so we're going to try to leave no stone unturned. We're going to try to cover everything that there is to know about breeding the freshwater angelfish, even all the way down to talking about how to get rid of the fish once you have them. Dave knows how to do that. So we're going to talk about all that stuff. Let's take a look at Dave's setup, and then we'll move on. All right, folks, so here we are. We're starting out at Dave's 180-gallon tank. Dave, tell us about this, what you got in it.
All right, this one, to start off, the biggest fish. I've got 3 bala sharks. When I purchased them, they were all 1 inch. They've kind of gotten bigger. I've got some fox algae eaters in there. Several plecos. They don't show up much, but I've got some clown loaches. They like to hide. But primarily I have some of my larger angelfish in here. There's a platinum blue, a gold, a veil zebra, and then some black lace, are hard to see back in the corner there.
What about filtration on this tank?
This one I use a Fluval FX5. And it does a pretty good job. I just did a major water change yesterday, so the water's still a little bit cloudy, but it'll clear up pretty quickly. And because of a window facing south, I'm fighting a little bit of algae in that one, but we're overcoming it.
We've all been there. Moving over to here, this is a tank you're going to see quite a bit of as we go on in this series.
This is a 29-gallon breeder. As you can see, I've got 2 gold angels in there, and they're very protected because if you look closely, they are raising some fry, and they just laid eggs this morning on the slate, which is unusual. Usually they don't lay eggs while they have fries. I leave the fry in there because I'm trying to train them to raise their own. I've been relatively successful, but haven't gotten any all the way through yet, so we're still hoping.
And that is the first time I've seen that, where there is free swimming fry and eggs in the same tank. That's pretty fascinating.
And they're very aggressive. You put your hand in there, they will attack you.
They seem to be coming to the camera as soon as I come up.
So,
They're
they're good parents.
very nice. We're going to see a lot more of that in the future videos. We move over here. This is the tank that has kind of a fun story behind it.
This is my magic tank. Once again, that same window, if you see the algae on one side of it, but I really don't do anything to this tank because if I ever have a sick fish, I put him in this tank and he gets better. All of my friends have laughed about this tank, but I don't know if you can see it. There's even an angel in there that got half his head cut off. I put him in this tank and he is surviving and growing.
Where is he?
He's right in front of the small.
Oh yeah, there he is.
But
He
so
might
as
look
long
a
as
little
I
funny.
have success with this tank, I'm not going to change anything.
And you don't have any breeders or anything like that in
No.
there, just to...
Basically, what I do is I go from a fry tank to a grow out tank, and then from a grow out tank I put them in this 55. As you can see, these are definitely ready to sell, except for the one that's missing part of his head. But this is where, you know, when people want some, they're quarter size, I put them in this tank to grow them out to that size.
Gotcha. Moving on, this is one of its definite most pretty tanks here. We're not talking about discus in this series, but we can't be in here and not show this tank.
Yeah, this is my 110. It obviously it's got the discus in there. I also have some Denison barbs and some rummy nose tetra, and then I've got some rosy barbs in there. I use rosy barbs exclusively to eat algae, and they do a really good job about that. Oh, I'm sorry, I even got some German blue rams in there. I forgot about those guys.
Oh yeah, there's a couple of big ones too.
And I got them from Pet Store in King George. They did a really good job on.
I've heard about those guys. I've heard there's a big goofball that works in there, but there's a real nice lady that works in there. I know that.
This next tank is the 30-gallon. As you can see, these are a little bit smaller. This is another grow-out tank. This is the size that I like to, you know, to sell as, because you know that they're good and healthy and they're ready to go. But I put them in here. These are going to a person that I'm making a trade, and so I'm getting them just a little bit bigger, but they'll be ready to go in the next few days. And obviously I've got 20 rummy nose tetras in there.
I just love those. I love the tails on those. And this is a shrimp tank. He might not have wanted to show this one, but there's only about 3.5, 3.6 million shrimp down here.
Yeah.
So
I try to do things as natural as I can, and we'll talk about what I use shrimp for later. Sometimes I use them for food, but they do serve a purpose in raising angelfish.
that's very cool. Now we come over here to a couple more of his fry tanks. Is this a 40-gallon breeder here?
Yes, this is stage 1 in the grow out. They'll go from the fry tanks into this tank until they get to a decent size, then I'll move them either to the 30 or the 55. If you notice the large population of snails, I also raise assassin snails, and if you look down there, there's quite a few. So that's just food for the assassin snails.
Nice. And we've sold quite a few of his assassin snails in the store.
That tank right there is a Cory tank, but somehow I've got guppy babies in there.
It's another funny story about this tank. We don't have all day, otherwise I'd talk a little bit more about that.
And then this is another 40 breeder. If you look back in the back, sorry it's kind of dirty, but they've had fry, so I haven't been able to do a water change. But that's my original breeding pair. They're black lace angels. They're kind of grumpy. They fight a lot. That's why I put these other baby angels in there to kind of help with the stress.
That's his original pair. That's the original pair, right?
Right,
Yeah,
very
okay.
first pair. That's what got me into this.
And here
then
we have...
These are fry tanks and they are due for a water change, which will happen after we do, do this video. But these are golden angel fry, and in the tank next to them are some black lace angel fry.
And these are, how old do you think these fry are here?
Those are about a month.
Okay, here we are in Dave's living room. One of the things I wanted to show, Dave's a pretty creative guy. Used an old sewing machine stand for this tank. I thought that was pretty clever. I like that. Tell me about this tank, Dave.
This is a 29-gallon breeder, and I also have Panda Cories and Julie Cories in there, and they are also breeding pairs. But this is a pair of Platinums, and they're very shy, but you know, they're very popular fish, but they require a unique setup. So that's why they're in here. They do better with the plants and the other fish. But they're about ready to spawn. They've been prepping up until we walked up here and they hid. Okay, so we're up here in Dave's loft. He's got 3 more tanks up here and 2 of the biggest angels I think I've ever seen. All right, this is a marbled or koi angel male. That's his mate down there. I've gotten 4 or 5 successful breedings from them. Apologize for the tank, but that big algae eater back there, Grandpa, he's pretty old, but he just does not like things the way I put them, so he always rearranges.
Interior decorator.
You might notice the small fish, guppies. I keep those in all my breeder tanks because the pairs, sometimes the males get aggressive or the females, and if you have other little fish they can chase around, they'll leave their mates alone.
Well, ditherfish.
So.
Little ditherfish, is that what you're talking about? Yeah. All right. So. And then we move on to a tank that might surprise you, with a tank full of discus, or a house full of discus and angelfish. We got an African cichlid tank with mostly mbunas, so they're all hiding. They're in there, I promise. He's got like 20 fish in this tank, but
yeah, there's some yellow labs and oh, you sold me the blue ones. I don't even know what they're called, but there's, I want to say there's 11 or 12, but they do like to hide, and they do it very, very well.
That's a nice looking tank though. And then before the battery on the camera dies, we do have the last little tank. Tell me about this real quick.
All right, that's just a guppy tank. I keep it set up mainly, you see the plant in there, that started out as a small piece of Java moss with another plant, don't even know because I just bought the Java moss, but over time it has taken up the whole tank. And I am going, it's half full right now because I'm getting ready to take it out of that tank and use that tank for fry. Okay, so we've seen Dave's tanks. He's got them all over the place. This is going to be a lot of fun. Obviously the man knows what he's talking about. He's got angels all over the place. You saw how pretty his discus are. He knows how to take care of fish. So we're going to wrap up this episode. On the next one, we're going to start talking about getting your system set up to breed angels. So subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out when that video gets uploaded. We'll be putting that up hopefully right after this first one. But subscribe anyway because you don't want to miss any of these episodes. So thank you to Dave. We'll be back and we'll get into the nuts and bolts of this. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.